depression. Topic is going to be depression. Blah, 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 blah. When thinking about whether you're depressed or not, you have to understand whether or not. There we go.
Come on, bro. Time to move.
You have to understand that a lot of emotions build up into depression. Realizing that when thinking that if you think that you're depressed, you should really talk up to your psychiatrist or talk to someone about it.
We have a civilian requiring assistance on Boulevard Del Perro.
I'm not like the #1 expert to talk about depression, but I mean obviously, because I'm not an expert at all. But there's things I've been depressed about, so I kind of have some experience in it. You know, like a whole bunch of experience. Wait, that's the wrong way. I've thought about depression in the past. Oh wait, our live stream right now is not brought to you by Monster again, because the best part of waking up is Monster and a can or a cup. Yes. And I'm trying to think fast. So I'm gonna take a sip. All right. It's yummy. All right. Now we're going to.
Report 480 on West Eclipse Boulevard in Pacific
All right. We are going to get this right here.
Sorry, but I need this.
Citizens reporting disturbance on Great Ocean Highway.
I see the perp. We're in pursuit.
Units reporting shots fired at an
Man, my bus went
officer.
bye-bye. Ah! Depression can stop you from doing a lot of things. It can halt your motivation, your actual want to get up and go someplace, or your want to do things. People can think sometimes that they're introverts, but they can be going through a serious depression. What people really need to understand, though, is that there are
I'm gonna be using your car.
there are so many ways to actually go about having depression. I mean, not to say that you should get one or something like that, but there are so many ways, like, because it's a buildup of certain emotions inside of your body, inside of your mind, and it's certain thoughts that you're currently not giving the rite of passage, I guess. Not saying that they even exist sometimes. But
This was a nice car.
realizing that that when you're depressed,
Come on, bro.
it's hard to think about anything else. It's hard to make it seem like you're doing well. It's hard to make it seem like to anyone or anything that you're a better person. Trying to understand where depression comes from. Like I said, it comes from it comes from putting off lots of things. It actually comes from procrastination. Realizing that the reality of depression, son of a bitch.
Have a visual. Moving in.
Officers report a 140 close to Del Perro Shopping Promenade.
And it can cause a lot of reactions to happen. But the reality of it is you should talk to your doctor about depression, and sometimes you don't need medication. Sometimes you just need like a treatment, like a therapy treatment, or someone to talk to, or someone to be there for you, like a support team, a support group, like your friends, your family. Sometimes you just need your family to be around to actually get through depression, and it's very hard to think about, but also too, sometimes you need to be alone too. It depends on the person. I want to say everything that I've heard as far as what any therapist has told me, because it doesn't always work. And you should think about what you're doing before you do it. You should think about how you're being. You should just really think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, how it's affecting other people, before you affect other people to where it can affect you, you know. And if you're a weirdo dude who doesn't like the people around you, and you think that like you just want to watch it all burn or something, know that that's a fight or flight reaction. Know that it's like that's a fight or flight reaction. That's like saying, oh, this dude doesn't want to help me, so obviously he's my enemy. What? So, or this dude doesn't want to be around me, so he's obviously someone that I don't want to be around. Or that dude could be going through so many different things. Don't hesitate to, don't judge and then hesitate to think about what the reasons why you're judging, or the reasons why someone else is in a situation. And don't hesitate to try to pick it apart, because it can actually do you some good. People always think that you need to bury those thoughts inside yourself. It's better to not think about it. It's like, what are you thinking about? Like what are you saying? And depression can be the end result of that. Not picking apart of it, not picking apart of it, but not picking apart those thoughts, but in so many ways forgetting about whatever thing that ails you, or makes you depressed. All right. But and understandably so, depression can lead to so many other things. It can lead to suicidal thoughts. It can lead to, oh, I just want to let it all go. It can lead to so many different things. And that's not through experience, because I've never actually had many suicidal thoughts. It's like, oh, what would happen if, I have fears and stuff like that. But those are fears. It's not suicidal thoughts if you fear it. Like, it's not like, I would hate to crash or do something like that. But, I mean, it's a possibility. But, I mean, when you're driving a car or something like that. And in real life, not in this game, obviously. But depression itself can cause suicidal thoughts, irrational fears, and even in some cases racing thoughts. Your emotions, you have to keep control of them. And you have to be able to understand that that those thoughts are they're like, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if these two things match up, or what if this happens and this happens and this happens, then this will completely happen because of those three things. No, that's also in succession racing thoughts. So, realizing that, that both your subconscious and your consciousness work together, because your subconscious is basically thoughts brought forth by emotions. Emotions brought forth by thoughts that can affect you one way or another. Your conscious thought is like, I need to go do something and make it happen right now, or I need to go do the dishes, or I need to go do something else. It helps you with everyday tasks, and in conscious thought can actually be like, well, why am I doing this all the time, or why am I? Wait, that was a rant. I'm doing that. I hate the music on this game. Wish I could play some other music, but it's all copyrighted, so. Realizing that that depression is an amazing thing. It can actually lead to positive thoughts sometimes, and that's what people don't understand and people don't know. Oh shit. All right, that doesn't work. But people don't give themselves the chance to actually do anything. And in some ways it can be just procrastination. It's not really depression or anything like that. It's not really like I don't feel good about what I'm doing. It's more like oh, I can't really get anything done because I kind of got an artist block or whatever. Like that. But realizing that those things mean stuff. Like for instance, I haven't been able to draw for a while. Mostly because I can get carpal tunnel like really easily if I do so much, But also too, I'm kind of starting to work on painting a little bit more right now. So that's pretty much what I'm doing. But depression in itself, it's hard to think about sometimes when you're not depressed. It's hard to think about where you went, like in your depression, when you're not depressed. But But I mean, you can remember it when you get there sometimes. It's hard to think about where you were as far as your thought process was. Well, how paranoid or how unparanoid or how stupid or how insensitive those things can be. Realizing that depression plays a part in your entire emotions. Oh shit, I just ran into a rock.
Oh, man, that... Oh.
Depression plays a part in your entire emotions. You can be depressed about losing someone. You can be depressed about a friend not being there anymore. You can be depressed about things changing. But also realize that you kind of need it, you know? Don't be depressed about anything that's changing in your life, because I mean, eventually it will stay the same. I mean, even though that it changes, people don't want to like completely remove themselves from you unless you're actually being an asshole. That was awesome. Oh, that was a thing. All right. But also remember that depression itself is really hard to deal with. It's not something that you should be taking lightly. It's not something you should be serious about it. But you should also be able to get yourself out of it. Because it's like a funk. It's like any other funk. It's like any other roadblock or obstacle or anything like that. You need to get you need to go over to get to your ideal wants or ideal life. Your ideal life.
Vamos to car, amigo.
Realizing that
Shit!
that depression plays a role in your life whether you want it to or not, because even though you're not depressed, other people can be. Seeing where you lay on the spectrum is really I'd say it's a very good thing to do. It's a very it's a very smart thing to do. It's a very smart thing to do. But also understanding where you want to be on the spectrum. Understanding where you want to be as far as your emotions go. Realizing where you really want to be in your life is extremely truthful, is extremely honest, and is extremely let's say for instance, I want to make $1 million. I want to be a millionaire. I have a bunch of amazing random ideas that if I were to put together inside of the company and have the actual money for it, then I'd probably be a millionaire. It's not about technology or anything like that. It's mostly about like movies and dumb stuff. But also too, I mean, I shouldn't be calling it dumb stuff because it's just stuff that I really think is interesting.
You got lucky, buddy.
And I mean, I make fun of myself sometimes because I don't see the point in not making fun of myself. People think that, oh well, if you make fun of yourself, it means you're depressed about your life. It's like, no, it doesn't mean that at all. It's like, it really doesn't. It means you just don't take yourself too seriously. And you really shouldn't, because sometimes you'll want to go through something and you want to do something, and once it's out, you'll be like, wow, that really wasn't what I wanted to do. Like, you'll be like, oh, in your head it looked so amazing, in your head it seemed so amazing, but then as you got out with it, you gotta start to get depressed about it, and you're like, oh, I kind of want to change this, but you didn't realize that that changing it would change your your view on what you actually wanted to do with it. Realizing that that your influence and your want in this world is something that's true in nature, but it sounds stupid what I'm saying, but it's true in its purest form, and when you figure out the formula to be able to make it to its truest form, or to what you believe what you want it to be, then you start to make something interesting. You start to make something actually worth seeing, or worth being around, or worth doing, you know? I mean, there's so many things that people don't understand about their own depression and what led them there, what got them there. The constant back and forth between themselves, the constant, like, is this a good idea? Is this not a good idea? I'm unsure of myself, and that's what can lead sometimes to depression, because I'm talking about the unsure depression now, like the oh, I don't know anything about myself, or something like that, or I don't know anything about the things that I'm doing, or something like that, because I felt that when I was really young. I felt that when I was a young kid, but I realized what I wanted to do with myself and how I wanted to do it, and how I wanted to do things, because it's hard to just be that person. It's hard to be unsure of yourself constantly just to please people, or change yourself constantly just to be on the other side of an argument, even though you don't believe in it. You don't believe in it one way or the other. Realizing that. Nice. Realizing that that depression itself is a build-up. It's like you overfilled your tank. It's like you're over encumbered in in Oblivion. But what you should really realize about depression is it's a part of life. It's a part of feeling. It's a part of emotions, and it's a part of you realizing that, like, you don't need to delete your memory as far as it goes, but you need to address it. Realizing that that depression is a part of everyday life. That overfilling yourself, or overfilling your lack of confidence in yourself can be mind-numbing sometimes. And but also realizing that yes, I'm chasing this coyote. I'm gonna fight it. I'm gonna fight this coyote. I was gonna trip him. No, shit. But yeah, realizing that depression itself can cause so many things in your life to go wrong. It can cause your timing to go off. It can cause your sense of balance to go off, because you're constantly thinking about things internally, or constantly not thinking about things internally. This is a good therapy for me, because I find it really relaxing to actually talk about some of the things that are inside of my head. And realizing that that your internal struggle is not eternal. It's sometimes it's not what you want it to be. Sometimes you're not exactly the way you want it to, you want something to be. But realize that if it's not exactly the way you want it to be, then don't be it. Then don't do it. You don't have to be the trailblazer, or you don't have to be the person who says this is the way things are, or I mean, you don't have to be the first person to do anything. You don't have to put that much pressure on yourself. You don't have to put any pressure on yourself, because if you take life too seriously, you'll wind up completely alone. No matter how much money you have, no matter how many things you have, no matter how many people that are around you to support you, you'll always feel alone. You'll always feel like there's no one else there, because you let go of so many things before. Because you realize that, and that's also a really sad picture, because depression without the thought that it was depressed about is even worse than some people might think. It's realizing that that if you're depressed about something that you can't feel, or if you're depressed about a thought that you push down so hard or so much that you don't even know about the thought anymore, it's really hard to actually think about those things whenever they're not fresh. So realize that you deserve more. That you deserve a lot, and you deserve to remember. You deserve to remember about either people in your life you don't want to talk to anymore, people in your life you should talk to, people in your life you don't feel like having anything around with, people in your life that you don't want around you anymore. But also think about the people that you do want around you, and you shouldn't be always so depressed. Thinking about what you really want to do with your life, and where you really want to go in your life. Realize that there are so many ways to go. There are so many things to do, and there are so many people to actually meet. Whether or not you're physically capable or emotionally capable, because I mean, sometimes people can do things that are completely amazing, even though sometimes they're not physically capable to do different things. But if you're not emotionally capable, then realize that you're putting you're making your own disabilities. And much rather than face things, you would see someone else do something, and you would see someone else do something better than you, and you would think that they were better than you, but understandably so, they're not.
What is this shit?
Alright, yes, we turned off. But realizing that, and I say that a lot, but realizing is a great thing to do. Realizing things, realizing truths, realizing that sometimes things aren't the way that you think they are is something that I passionately want to get behind and want to know. You know, like there are things that I make up in my own head that get me by sometimes. They help me be alone, and they help me. It helps me realize something that was once forgotten. Like, I constantly push my mind to be able to remember different things. And remember things that made me happy or sad or emotional or anything like that. Realizing that those things aren't always going to be with me, because I'm getting older and I'm not starting to forget, but I'm in the early stages of probably forgetting about my childhood or forgetting about different things. Realizing that the true nature of what I really want to do with myself, how I really want to do things, is where I really want to go in life, who I really want to get to, how I really want to get to it, or where I really want to get to is probably the biggest truth that I can possibly think of. I was kind of put down as a kid. I wasn't really like told everything that was around me. So I kind of made up for it and tried to analyze it. Every single day. Realizing that
Come on, asshole! Hey, you want me? Kill me!
We've got a 245 near,
realizing that I'm not going to get another car very soon. Gotta get back in this one. But understanding depression is like understanding the back of your hand. You don't pay attention to it much, and they can say that you don't pay attention to it. You do pay attention to it. I know, look, the back of my hand, or that sort of thing. It's an overused euphemism or metaphor. It's like, it's really lame. Anyways,
units reporting a reckless driver.
but realizing that depression can be a tool that you lift yourself up with. No matter how many obstacles there are in front of you, no matter how many emotional obstacles, no matter how many big obstacles, no matter how many terrible things around you, and if you use those things for positive, then using them for the right thing. Use those things for positive things around you, then you're doing the right thing. But if you're using those things for negative, just realize that it'll always come back to you. It'll always go back around you, and that's why emotional degradation to yourself does not peg. Ooh, a car.
Suspect last seen east of the O'Neill farm.
Damn it. I'm having some bad luck with this. Not as MLG as I used to be. This part I'm not practicing on. So, I haven't really done a lot of practicing with this. I was trying to jump that rock. And, there we go.
Dispatch, we got eyes. We're in
But
pursuit.
also realizing that that whenever you're around yourself, whenever you're doing something for yourself, just give yourself a visual cue. You were raised on a reward thing. Everyone was. Everyone was raised on risk and reward. If you did something really good, you gotta treat for it. So why not treat yourself? And I do it by getting loot crate. Like this awesome thing. I'm not advertising or anything like that because this isn't sponsored by it. But I try to give myself something every month or something every week that is good. You know, that's something that's like It's like, hey, you did a good job, and no one else can tell you otherwise. You did a good job for you, and no one else can be like, oh, that's not valid, or something like that. So, because also sometimes I was bullied, but I randomly I got better at like making fun of these people who were making fun of me. I never really tried to stand down. So. As far as what you really want to do with yourself, realize that there are emotional blockages, that there are the pieces of depression, that there are pieces of frustration in anything you do. That a job is a job and work is work, and it's always going to be like that, no matter what. It's because it's the job. You get paid to do it. People get paid to do it. Sometimes they don't like it. But also remember that just because you enjoy your job doesn't mean other people do. You should always be thankful and always be realizing that
We have a visual on the perp.
that you're worth it. That you're worth being better at yourself. You're worth being better than most. Because everybody's better. They can be at something.
A reckless driver, north of
Sonora
Recycling Center.
You too. Alright. Realizing that,
Dispatch, suspect entered the freeway.
Roger.
whenever you're alone, just give yourself a pat on the back. And grab yourself tight. And just give yourself a hug. You deserve it. And, you deserve to feel better about yourself. And also, you deserve to be a better person. You can do it, and I believe in you.
Officers report a reckless driver.
All my 0 viewers.
Bolingbroke Penitentiary.
So, I'm doing pretty shitty this live stream, so probably reasons why nobody's watching at all. But if I do something cool, then Dude, there's a freaking car right there. Alright, I'm probably gonna end it up here and make people realize that depression is a buildup. Depression is an obstacle. All you have to do is become mentally aware and emotionally fit, emotionally good, and emotionally positive. And all you have to do emotionally better. Realize that you'll always have something. Realize that you'll always be better than yourself. You can't always be better than what you are right now. And it's not some feeling that hits you or anything like that, or some drug that's going to make you feel better, or some like feeling that's going to make you feel better because you're doing something at the time that makes you feel better than what you actually are. It's that smooth out. It's that It's the in-between parts that you need to deal with sometimes. Okay. There we go. And we're going to... Alright, we're gonna keep going. I'm doing a constant wheelie on this thing. Realize that no matter what anyone says about you or what anyone does, you're the master of your own thing, and be responsible. Be responsible for the things that you do, and in some cases say. In some cases, because sometimes there's just joking. I mean, there's just people aren't serious like maybe 40 to 50% of the time. But also remember that there are dangers out there. There are dangerous things. There are dangerous people. And you do have to protect yourself. Realize that you're worth being protected, because you should take responsibility and protect yourself. No matter what anyone else says, no matter what anyone else does. Emotionally, physically.
Hey, they need to be calm.
Realizing that that you're worth so much. Realize that you have to protect yourself so much. So don't be lazy. Don't be stupid. I can be lazy so many times. Sometimes I don't even take a shower. It's deplorable. I'm a dirty person sometimes. I'm really dirty. But in your own lines, in your own eyes, be the best person that you can be, even if you choose not to take a shower that day or not. If you choose to take a shower that day or not, and you should have little to no depression. I mean, you could get depressed about things that are around you, but also remember that life goes on. Remember that everything goes on, even though you don't, or even though other people don't. Oh shit, I was supposed to go in between those two. Realize that your existence is worth something. That you existing is worth something. That you just being around is worth something. Because I've had so many people that were like, oh, well, there were so many excuses, there were so many things, and sometimes I use that same excuse sometimes, but that is a generator I just hit. Realize that that there is no excuse in the world that can keep you from being a good person. At least once in your life. And if you're running from the cops, or you're hurt inside, or you're running from yourself, realize that you can't run for too long. You can't run from your own problems for too long, because they'll always catch up. can't run from your own inconsistencies for too long. They always remember you, because you'll always remember them. Even if you can't remember them in your conscious brain, your subconscious still remembers the fear, or the pain, or the hurt inside. Realize that you'll always remember how it made you feel. But also remember that too much of that and you'll have to get out of that situation. Too much of that and you'll have to remember how to be healthy. How to be back to norm. Oh shit, I thought I was going between the trees.
Oh, crap! Damn.
Realize that you're worth more alive and well to anyone than dead and gone. And that's what depression can lead to. Realize that if you forget too much of yourself, or if you run too far away, then you'll still remember the fear. You just won't have the concept or the thing that you used to be able to battle, to be able to subside. And that's what depression can do. Realize that whenever you're around something, whenever you're around someone, you feel something. And if you forget how to feel, shit. And if you forget how to feel, oh my god, the train. Get on. Yes. If you forget, can you forget a lot? I'm dead inside. Forgot. Like I said, there's no such thing. Either you're slowly turning into a zombie, or you just forgot. You don't have to be goth and then forget about shit. Thought that was a rant a little bit. I don't know why I did that. Got the safety first. There we go. Alright, we're doing a little bit shittier than we were earlier. Alright, keep doing a wheelie though. That's fun. Yes, made it on the roof. I don't know how that happened. It's awesome. Be more for yourself if you feel locked up or tired. Be better for yourself if you feel like you're worse off than before. Be more positive and more intuitive to your own emotions. And that's how you combat depression. It's something that I've felt every once in a while, but it's also something that I felt like that I felt would never be completely there because of the way that I love myself, the way that I want to be around myself, the way that I want to make myself, and moreover, I want to protect the ones I care about. But I want the ones I care about to be able to protect themselves as well. And that's what I've worked towards since I was about 5 years old. And I'd much rather have my loved ones be safe than ever be around them sometimes. But also too, I want them to know that I care about them and I love them. And I love myself beforehand. So I know that it is real. Awesome. And this is where I leave you. I flipped over a banister. Oh, it was bound to happen. Should have done a wheelie and bounced off of it, but it didn't happen like that. Thank you for listening if you ever do, or if you ever have. And I guess that's the end of game therapy. And I'll see you later. Have a good one.